Hey y'all, I just had a great conversation with one of my family members, and they were talking about just struggles they're having with their teen in their life. We talked about basic neuroscience just to have a framework for what might be going on with their teen. So I thought I'd share that today. So I always like to think about the brain, and we have different parts of our brain, right? I like to use the hand model of the brain. It comes from Dan Siegel, and it goes like this. So we've got our brain. Imagine this is your brain. This is your prefrontal cortex right here, the front part of your brain, okay? And in here is where problem solving, logic, reasoning, the sense of time, all of that's happening in our prefrontal cortex. This is where we're often asking kids to be, right? We want them to be able to engage in discussions and think through their behavior. We want them to go to class and learn. And so we want them to be here. The thing is, most kids are not here when they arrive at school. Most kids are not here when they wake up in the morning, right? A lot of kids are dysregulated. So we've got to go to the other parts of the brain and meet them where they're at. So when we think about the model of the brain, when you open it up, this is the front of the brain, the prefrontal cortex. Inside, here's our limbic system. This is where feelings and emotions happen, right? And so when you're stressed, this logic part of your brain starts to be less connected, and the feelings part of your brain is in control, right? So when we've got a kiddo who's stressed, who's really, really going through it, you start to see some behaviors that are alarming. They're in fight-flight mode. They're in this limbic part of their brain, right? Below that, down here, is what we call the brainstem, right? And that is things like temperature and breathing and heart rate, right? Basic regulation. So a lot of times, whenever we have a student or a kid who's really feeling upset, a lot of times I'll wonder, what's going on at the bottom of their brain, right? Are they hungry? Are they tired? Is their temperature off? What can we do to meet those needs? So we always want to regulate first, right? Regulate first. Dr. Bruce Perry says a sequence of engagement is regulate, relate, reason, okay? So we regulate in the brainstem. So I might, with that child who's upset, I might say, do you want some cold water? I might say, can I offer you a blanket? What do you need, right? To kind of settle in and have your body feel regulated. Then we're gonna relate in the limbic area. So that means I'm gonna feel connected and attuned, right? I'm gonna give them kind eyes. I'm gonna give them a positive face. I'm gonna make sure that their fears and their safety concerns are limited, right? So I'm gonna relate to them. So I regulate their body, I relate, I connect, and only then am I gonna be able to get to this, the learning part of the brain, the reasoning. And you've got to do it in that order. It's so important. I've seen the sequence of engagement from Dr. Perry work in school systems, in residential treatment centers, in my office when I practice therapy. And I've seen the importance of following that order, right? Regulating first, then relating, before we ask kids to problem solve. That way it's just more effective, it's more efficient. And it also helps us ask the right questions, right? Sometimes a kid's behavior, they know what's right and wrong. They know how they should behave, but they were just hungry and it was hard for them to behave in that certain way, right? We've got to meet them where they're at and meet their needs. So thanks so much for joining me. And thanks to my family member that prompted this conversation today.